Maya. That should be good. Shalom, everybody. Welcome back to Family Time Reading. This is episode 12. Episode 12 of Family Time Reading. And we're here back at it with the next in the series of the Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol. This is book number 9. Book number 9. Now Museum, Now You Don't. By Andres Miedoso and illustrated by Victor Rivas. Desmond Cole. And we're going to see what Desmond and Andre get into now. Museums are great places to see really old stuff. The Kerrsville Museum has old paintings, old statues, and even old mummies that come with old curses. Sounds like a perfectly safe place to visit for family fun until the mummies start to disappear. Good colors on the book. I seen that the Ghost Patrol series is going to soon be getting, or they already have some, with colored pictures on the inside. Chapter 1. At the Kerrsville Museum. Chapter 1. Old stuff. Please do not touch. Museums are strange. Am I right? I mean, museums are like big buildings filled with old stuff you're not allowed to touch. They have old paintings and old statues, old furniture and old jewelry. They even have old pottery. That's kind of like leaving your icky, dirty dishes lying around for 100 years. Don't get me wrong. Museums might have neat new art too, but I never really understood it. Like, what side is up? And is that supposed to be a horse? Anyway, we didn't come to the Kerrsville Museum that day to see art. We came to see old people. No, I'm not talking about your grandparents or great-grandparents or even your great-great-grandparents. I'm talking about really old people. Yeah, I'm talking about mummies. You know, mummies, right? They are wrapped in cloth, surrounded by gold, and live in pyramids for thousands of years. Yeah, of course you know what a mummy is. Because mummies are the coolest. Well, that's what I used to think. And right now, I'm having some really serious doubts. That's me, Andres Miedoso. I'm the one on the back of the yak. Well, a fake yak. That's my best friend, Desmond Cole. He's in the chariot. The chariot is real, but the horse is fake. Andre, Desmond. No, your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. The yak and the chariot are starting to move. As a matter of fact, everything in the whole museum is turning real. My mom likes to say that museums make history come to life. I don't think this is what she meant. Oh no, my yak is taking off. I better hold on tight.
That's like a night at the museum.
Chapter 2, The Forever and Ever King. I guess I should start by telling you a little story. I used to think it wasn't true, but after reading this, you have to judge for yourself. More than 4,000 years ago, there was a king who called himself the Forever and Ever King. He wanted to live forever. Crazy, right? I don't want to spoil the ending, but let me say this. He definitely didn't live forever and ever. Nope. And his family went ahead and made him into a mummy, and they put him in a special place where he could stay for eternity. That's just a fancy way of saying forever and ever. The family decorated the mummy's chamber with gold statues and pots filled with honey. They even gave him a giant bed shaped like a bigger version of himself to sleep in. I know what you're thinking. You want to know why I had to tell you a story that was 4,000 years old. You're probably wondering, what in any of that has to do with me and Desmond, well, I'll tell you. A few weeks ago, the Kerrsville Museum held a contest to celebrate some silly mummy that was going to be at the museum this weekend. To win free passes, kids had to draw and color a very special mummy chamber. And guess who won? Desmond Cole, of course. He drew one with ghosts, sleepwalking snowmen, monsters, and mer surfers. People thought he had the big imagination, but I knew that he had met every creature in his drawing. Still, it was a good drawing. Desmond also included a lot of food. He had pizzas, cheeseburgers, tacos, candy bars, and even s'mores. I guess if I were a mummy, I'd want to live there for eternity too. So anyway, Desmond won the free tickets. And that's why we were at the museum on what was probably the craziest day ever. Chapter 3, Scary Butterflies. Museums also have scary things. Not ghost scary, but real life scary. They have dinosaur bones that are so huge that they reach the roof of the building. And they have all kinds of animals on display. Lions and bears and wolves and yes, yaks. I know that animals are stuffed and made to look like this they were still alive, but that never stopped me from being a little jumpy. Okay, for being very jumpy. I know, I will admit that it doesn't make sense until you remember that Kerrsville is haunted. You've never really know what could happen here. Desmond's mom and dad were really nice to bring us to the museum that day. And when we stepped inside the building, the first thing we saw was a giant grizzly bear with its huge fangs and claws showing. It looked like it was trying to grab us. Get off me. Oh my, Desmond dad said, gasping. That looks real. Mrs. Cole took him by the hand. It's just a display, she explained. There's nothing to be scared of. I knew what she was saying was true. That bear couldn't hurt us, but that didn't stop my heart from beating at that triple speed. I moved away from it as fast as I could. That was when Mrs. Cole pointed to a line, the one every parent spots. No, it wasn't the line for the bathroom. It was the line for the butterfly exhibit. Would you boys like to see the butterflies? Miss Cole asked us. I just want to get to the mummy already, Desmond said excitedly. He was wearing a funky explorer hat for some reason. And when Desmond dresses up like that, it means he's really excited. And today, he was really excited about mummies. I wasn't as excited. I mean, the butterfly exhibit sounded kind of cool and totally safe. Let's go see butterflies, I told Desmond. We can see the mummy later.
Mummies.
The mummy's correct, son. I don't know why, but now that we're at the museum, I was getting nervous to see the mummies. Reading about them was fun, but being this close to the real ones was a little scary. Desmond turned to me and whispered, Andre, you know there are thousands of butterflies in there, right? I gulped, thousands? He nodded, yep. And all of those butterflies would be flying around the room at the same time. That sounded like a butterfly tornado. Suddenly, the thought of a creepy mummy sounded less scary than being stuck in the room with a swarm of butterflies. I'll stay with Desmond, I told Mr. and Mrs. Cole. We want to see the mummy that is not going to move at all. Suit yourself, Mrs. Cole said as she waved to the security guard. Mr. Roberts, will you keep an eye on Desmond and Andre while we're in the butterfly exhibit? Mr. Roberts nodded. He was an older man in a gray uniform. His curly white hair stuck out from under his security hat. Oh, of course, Mrs. Cole, the guard said. Don't worry about the kids. This museum is the safest place in the world. Boy, oh boy, was he wrong. Look at them checking out the museum. That's that funny art they was talking about in the beginning.
Once they say nothing goes wrong, then something goes wrong.
Chapter 4. Mummy's the word. Mummy exhibition. While most of the parents went to see the butterflies, Desmond and I walked through the museum on our way to the mummy's exhibit. We passed through the art room, which seemed to be where all the rest of the grown-ups were. They were staring at the art as if they were under a spell. Desmond and I looked at the new art for a little while, and as usual, none of it made sense. There were paintings that looked like something a finger painted when I was in kindergarten, and a squiggly sculpture that seemed more like painting spaghetti. And there was even a painting of a woman who had 10 eyes, all on one side of her face. Why do artists ever paint pictures of ghosts? Why don't artists ever paint pictures of ghosts? Desmond whispered to me. Probably because ghosts are invisible, I whispered back. Desmond nodded. Good answer, he said as he grabbed my arm. Come on, we have to find the mummy king. He's right after all. Why we were here. Excuse me, why we were there.
Is that like ghosts? It looks like a
So we kept moving through the museum into the room filled with old statues. They were huge and so real looking. This one looks like you, said Desmond with a laugh. The statue did look a little like me, if I carried a sword and had tons of muscles. This one looks like you, I said, pointing to a statue of a guy riding a chariot. I would never know how to drive one of these things, Desmond said. They got Desmond, they had Desmond buff too.
Look, he looks the same.
He got muscles.
He looks the same, but without the hair.
As we left our statues behind, we passed a really creepy mask. Desmond and I had seen that mask before when we were hunting for the monsters, but that was a whole other story. Desmond leaned closer to me and whispered, remember this creepy guy? I still think that mask is haunted. Before I could respond, the mask actually started talking. In a deep voice, it said, Desmond Cole, you are right. I am haunted. The tiny hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and I was about to faint when Mr. Roberts popped out from behind the mask. Sorry, kids, he said with a laugh. I couldn't help myself, especially when I heard you talking about this mask. I let out a whimper. So it's not haunted? I asked him. Of course not, Mr. Roberts said. The only thing haunted in this place are the snacks in the vending machine. I wouldn't eat any of those if I were you. They're so old that I bet they are the potato chips mummies by now. Thanks for the tip, Mr. Roberts, Desmond said. Now we've got a mummy we need to see. On our way to the mummy exhibit, we stopped to check out the vending machine. Mr. Roberts was right. Nobody had gotten a snack from it in a long time. There were cobwebs on the inside, plus the snacks were so old that I'd never heard of them before. Doodle birds, I said, reading the label on one of the bags. Who would eat something called doodle birds? But I knew who would. Desmond Cole. That kid would eat anything if it wasn't made by his parents. Doodle birds. Where you at? Look at the doodle birds. Oh, doodle birds. Oh, a crunk. Like a Nestle Crunch right there. Soda Lola. Soda Loca. Twisted snacks. Look at that. Twisted snacks in there. I was pretty sure cobwebs, weird names, and stale food wouldn't stop Desmond if he was hungry enough, so I grabbed him. Let's go, I said, pulling him away from the vending machine. We were there to see a mummy, not eat doodle birds. Chapter 5. Wake up, sleepyhead. Stepping into the mummy's exhibit was like going back time, way back, like more than 4,000 years ago. The whole thing was set up to look exactly like the forever and ever king's final resting place. Sounds creepy, right? I thought so too. But you know what? It was actually super cool. There were gold statues everywhere, and for some reason, most of them were cats. And there were giant painted pots that surrounded the mummy king. Along the walls, the museum had even displayed the winning drawings from the contest. And it was easy to spot Desmond's drawing. It was the one with all the haunted stuff and food on it.
That's where they saw the ghost they saw.
The mummy's exhibit was pretty crowded, so it took us a little while to make our way up to the actual mummy king. It was in a long glass case, and it was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
I think that Desmond right there.
Yeah, so he had the hat. That's right. I think he had the hat. Desmond and I got as close as we could. The mummy king was wrapped from head to toe, and it was lying in an open box with lots of fancy paintings on it. The box is called a sarcophagus, Desmond told me. What? Sarcophagus? What? I asked. Sarcophagus, Desmond repeated. It's like a coffin for a mummy. Sometimes Desmond knew the strangest things. As we stood there, a bad feeling washed over me. Yeah, the mummy king was behind glass, but it was still a mummy.
That's rude. And it's like that.
How did I let Desmond talk me into coming here? Don't mummies have curses? Why did Desmond always have to love the creepiest things in the world? Suddenly, all I wanted to do was get out of there. I'm ready to leave, I said. Relax, Desmond told me. It's not like this mummy is cursed or anything.
It's just gonna get worse.
And that's when I heard it. A low voice that rumbled to life. Mummy is cursed! The voice growled. I screamed a high-pitched scream, and I jumped a high jump. And I fell into one of the huge ancient pots. It teetered and it tottered. And all I could think about was how I was going to break something that had already survived for thousands of years. Mr. Roberts suddenly popped out from hiding behind the mummy glass case. I got it, he said as he caught the pot. Oh, there I go again. I'm sorry for pranking you a second time. Maybe I shouldn't have made that silly mummy voice. I had no idea your friend was so easily scared, Desmond. As Mr. Roberts set the pot back in place, something slimy oozed out of it, dripping right onto the floor. It made the whole room smell like sweetest honey ever. Oh no, I better clean up the ancient honey, Mr. Roberts said, looking at the puddle. Wouldn't want anyone to slip on that. I'll go get the mop. I want some of that honey.
Come to life.
When he left, Desmond shook his head. Don't mind Mr. Roberts, he said. He loves trying to scare kids. But I knew that nothing scared Desmond cold. Well, at least nothing that we have found yet.
He's gonna be scared again.
Chapter 6, Honey Trap. As I carefully stepped over to spill honey, I found myself face to face with a different mummy case. It was standing so still that I wanted to be completely quiet, but the super sweet smell of the honey was filling the air. It made me want to sneeze. I held it in, and that was when I saw something strange. I saw the mummy case move just a little, but this was impossible. Only thing was that it happened again.
He's like,
The mummy's door slowly creaked as it opened wider. A hand reached out. Then I saw its fingers move too. A little cloud of dust puffed up around them, and finally the mummy's arm stretched from the sarcophagus thingy, and that was it for me. I didn't need to see anything else. I was out of there. I grabbed Desmond and said, "We need to leave now." As I pulled him away from there, I probably should have looked where I was going, because the next thing I knew, I was slipping and sliding in that spilled honey puddle. How could something that smells so sweet be so sticky and gross? Ugh! I wiped as much as I could off of my jeans, and when I stood up to grab Desmond again, he wasn't next to me. He had found the Mummy King. And since it was Desmond, he wasn't running away like I was. Oh, no way. Desmond rushed right up to the mummy and said, "Hello, King. My name is Desmond Cole." But the mummy didn't seem like it wanted to make friends. Its jaw moved slowly under all the rapping, and sound came out. "Doo, doo." I whispered to Desmond, "Did the mummy say what I think he said?" But Desmond wasn't paying any attention to me. He leaned closer to the mummy and said, "No, my name is Desmond." But the mummy just kept saying, "Doo, doo." It made no sense. But mummies that come alive don't need to make sense, I guess. "Doo, doo." Look, Desmond. "No, I'm Desmond Cole."
And he's like, Desmond, we should get at him.
The ancient forever and ever king crawled out of his glass case. And then the other mummies crawled out of their cases too. And yes, every kid in the room saw them. I mean, seeing mummies walking around is definitely not normal, even in Kerrsville. So the kids did what any normal kid would do. They screamed, and yes, so did I.
Oh, Desmond screamed too. He's like, okay, now I'm scared. They hit the sound.
Chapter 7. Things get real. Oh! There's something I've learned about mummies. They do not like screaming children. That Mummy King chased kids right out of the exhibit hall. And, well, it slow chased us. I learned this too. Mummies do not move fast. Try wrapping yourself up from head to toe and see how fast you can run. But it didn't matter how slow it was. We were being chased by a mummy, and we needed to get away. As we ran through the other rooms, Desmond asked, "Do you smell something sweet?" I sniffed the air. "That's the honey," I said. "Some of it must still be on my jeans." "Interesting," was all Desmond said back to me. "Hold up," I said, as we turned the corner. "Are we really going to talk about honey when there's a true life mummy chasing us?" Sometimes Desmond had a way of forgetting what was really important. Desmond ignored my question and said, "You know, they say that the Forever Ever King's honey was cursed." "Cursed how?" I asked. "The honey was supposed to give life to a mummy," he told me. "Looks like the curse worked," I snapped. If only Mr. Robert hadn't scared us like that. If only the museum hadn't put those pots of honey behind the glass wall. If only the mummies had stayed put in the sarcophagus, whatever it's called. But of course, things are never that simple in Kerrsville.
They can't go life. Everything goes to life.
I had been lost in all my thoughts when the sound of a slow-moving mummy was replaced by the sound of more footsteps, heavy footsteps. I didn't want to turn around because I didn't want to know what else was behind us. "Desmond," I whispered, "does that cursed honey only give life to mummies?" "I'm not sure," he said, and we stopped to see what was there. The statues from earlier were all staring back at us, only now they had come to life. Ooh, look at them statues. That's the gladiators. Chapter 8, the gift shop. Thud, thud. My feet knew what to do before I did. They ran. Now, if you think mummies are slow, you should see how slow stone statues run. They were so big and heavy, it took them forever to move. Every step that thick marble rock took, we heard a thud. My feet and I ran through the old art room where every painting had come to life too. The horses were galloping. The people were sitting at the kitchen table eating. The ballet dancer was, well, you get it. But we didn't stop there. We dashed into the modern art room, and all of a sudden, the red drippy painting started dripping onto the floor. The weird squiggly statue thing straightened itself out. The painting with 10 eyes said, well, look at this piece of art. It's called Two Boys Running. I stopped running. Is the painting talking about us? It's not like we are a piece of art, are we? I didn't have time to argue with that weird painting. Desmond and I ran to the front part of the museum where the animal and dinosaur bones used to be. But they were gone. I looked around. Where are the bones? I asked Desmond. They were just here. Oh, I wish I had never asked that question.
What?
All out the shadows, the animals and dinosaur bones marched into the center of the room, right towards us. And the bones were nothing like mummies and statues. They move fast.
Of course, they're dinosaurs.
Desmond and I were surrounded. The front doors were blocked by the bones of the saber-toothed tiger, and the door to the butterfly exhibit was blocked by the bones of the mammoth.
Oh, Lord.
Even the door to the bathroom was blocked by that giant mass. It was like they were trying to trap us. Then the museum grew quiet, and the only sound we heard was the Mummy King walking and saying, doo-doo. My heart raced. I was ready to give up when Desmond whispered, I have a plan. He grabbed my arm and pulled me into one of the best places at the museum, the gift shop. There they go, they're getting it now. Chapter 9, Toilet Paper Plan.
What?
Desmond, now isn't the time to shop, I whispered, screamed. Dude, I'm not shopping. He whispered, screamed back. I told you that I got a plan. Desmond waved me over toward the back of the gift shop. There was a bathroom. We snuck inside, of course. Of course, I went straight for the window, where I hoped to make a quick escape, but not Desmond. He went into the stall. Did he forget we were being chased by a mummy and statues and a bunch of bones? Desmond, I whispered, screamed. Again, a little louder. Desmond, now it's not the time to go to the bathroom. Dude, I'm just getting this, he said, holding up a roll of toilet paper. It's part of my plan. A few minutes later, Desmond and I walked back through the gift shop, except now we were wrapped from head to toe in toilet paper, mummy style. As we walked past the stuffed animals, the toys in the store, they started to come to life. I mean, this was getting out of control. We left the gift shop and ran smack dab into you-know-who, the Mummy King. Desmond waved hello again, but this time he said, doo-doo. What are you doing? I hissed. Trying to talk to it, Desmond whispered. He turned back to the mummy and repeated, doo-doo. The mummy looked at us hard, like it was trying to figure us out. The next thing we knew, it pulled on our toilet paper, sitting there spinning like two giant tops. Talk about getting dizzy. By the time we stopped spinning, the mummy was heading for the front door. It's trying to escape, I screamed. Desmond sprang into action. We have to stop him, he said. And that's when we did the only thing we could think of. I jumped on a yak, and Desmond jumped into a chariot. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Look at that boy on that yak.
I would ride it.
Chapter 10, Snacks for Mummy. It don't take long for me to figure out that it's not easy to ride a yak. Desmond couldn't ride his chariot either. Between the two of us, we had no idea what we were doing. But I grabbed the mummy's wrapping and held on tight. That mummy king dragged me around until it slammed into the old dusty vending machine. Suddenly, all the fake animals in the museum returned to their spots and went right back to being fake again. The dinosaur bones and the statues and everything that had come alive went back to being, well, normal. Everything except the mummy. It stared into the vending machine and a smile spread across his face. The forever ever king said, do the birds. Desmond ran over and pointed to the doodle bird chips in the vending machine. You want those? He asked the mummy.
That's why I say
The mummy nodded slowly. Then Desmond pulled out some change and bought the chips for it. When he handed over the bag, the mummy said, thank you. I never thought I'd see anything like that. Then the mummy walked back to its exhibit. When it got there, it ripped open the chips, dipped the doodle bird into the spilled honey, and chopped them down fast. See, Desmond said, it was just hungry. I understand. I get like that when I'm hungry, too. I couldn't believe my eyes. That mummy really seemed to like those super old stale doodle birds. When it was done, the mummy laid back down in its sarcophagus, and that was it. The adventure was over. The other mummies went back to their places, too. All the kids at the museum cheered for me and Desmond, just as parents came out of the butterfly exhibit. Finally, Mr. Roberts showed up with a mop and a bucket. That's weird, he said. All the honey has been cleaned up. Did I miss anything while I was gone? Desmond and I glanced at each other quickly, but we didn't say anything. No way would he believe us if we told him what really happened. And that was Desmond Cole. That was the end of Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol, book number 9. This is episode 12, Family Time Reading. Now museum, now you don't. Get number 10. Get number 10. We'll come back next time for Family Time Reading. We'll pick up with the next book in the series, book number 10. Book number 10 by Andres Miedoso and illustrated by Victor Rivas. Come on, I'll get number 10. Let's see what number 10 is. Let me see what number 10 is.
Dance parties.
Next time we'll come back with book number 10. Which is Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun. There are scary places in the world. Dark rooms and haunted houses. Foggy paths and creepy forests. And most of Desmond Cole's hometown of Curtisville. But no one expected a school dance to be so gruesome because the ghouls are dying to boogie. Look at Desmond. Look at Desmond down there.
What, Desmond where?
Look at Desmond boogieing. Desmond and then Andre. Look at the ghoul. And boogie on down. On down. Doom, 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 doom. But yeah, that'll be the next one on the list of the Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol series. But episode 12, we accomplished. Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol number 9, book number 9. Now museum, now you don't. Till next time, everybody. Hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your people, man, we out here reading stuff. And we'll keep pushing, one book at a time. Shalom, everybody. Shalom out.
Yeah, hold it all up and stuff. You look crazy.